Week 1 of Dana White's Contender Series is here. I'm going to give you a full breakdown of all 5 fights on this card. It is about damn time we got Contender Series back. Last year, I will say it was a little frustrating because it seemed like we started off so well. I had a big confidence boost after the first week, and then it all just went downhill. A bunch of underdogs hit, and that's what's kind of nice about Contender Series is that there is a lot of underdogs. However, no matter how much tape you do, the way some of these guys fight, whether it's like IQ, like even because the UFC wants a lot of finishes, you'll even see like grapplers try to strike. And so guys that you do think will win with the abilities that they do have, they might not even use them. So it is very tricky with the Contender Series sometimes, but I'm going to give you a full prediction and breakdown of this card, starting with Tuan versus Loner Kavanagh. This fight is actually really good. I think there's probably only like one fight on this card that I think will probably be a little bit iffy, a little bit slower, but a lot of these fights on this card are going to be really scrappy, and I think it's going to be super fun to watch. This is one of them. I actually think this fight's actually pretty close. The Tapology odds are very interesting because it's 68% Kavanagh and 32% Ho. I think it's more like 50, like in my brain, when choosing this fight, I'm going to go with Kavanagh, but it's more like 55-45 because Kavanagh, the way he fights, like he's a very good leg kicker. He'll chew up that leg, but the thing is he tends to like crash in forward more. And a guy like Tuan Ho, who does have a lot of movement, switches stances a lot, and it does have some really nice hands. Like he's straight up flatline dudes and put him out cold with one punch KO power. And we haven't really been able to see that with Kavanagh. Like Kavanagh recently, at least in Cage Warriors, he's getting finishes in the 3rd round or letting him go to decision. He can't really find the finish. Like he knocked out Marcos da Silva a lot and couldn't get the finish. The guy kind of just ran into his spinning heel kick. He hurt him a lot in that fight as well. Like that's the kind of thing that we're seeing here. So that's why I do think this fight's going to go a little bit longer. Kavanagh, I will say, has a little bit more oomph in his punches, but for some reason, Tuan Ho is a guy with the one punch KO power, and even Kavanagh has really good takedown defense. So this fight, I believe, is going to stay on the feet. It's just, I don't know. It's a very toss-up 50-50 fight. They're both super young too, so I'm very much looking forward to this fight. I think the odds are a little bit off a little bit. What do we got? -260. I don't know if he should be that big of a favorite in my opinion, but Tuan Ho, not a guy that's going to throw in crazy combinations. Same thing with Kavanagh. It's going to be very interesting to see who has the upper hand in this fight because I can see this one just being a scrap. Maybe Ho catches Kavanagh and puts him out. Maybe Kavanagh just completely chews up the legs of Tuan Ho and finishes him, or at least brings him to a decision, or like beats him very badly. Maybe we could see that happen, or it can just be a scrap with Ho changing stances quite a bit, pressuring Kavanagh, looking for potential grappling. Kavanagh stuffs the takedowns, and it's just a straight up scrap. But I am going to go with Kavanagh. I do like his leg kicks. I think at least over the 3 rounds of this fight, I think he's going to look a lot better towards the end. And I don't know if I can see a finish from Ho in this fight. I could be wrong here. Maybe Ho just completely impresses everybody and just flatlines Kavanagh in this one. But Kavanagh's a pretty good prospect. Ho's a pretty good prospect as well. They're both very young. Flyweight, I heard, has a new little opening in it. So I can see both of these guys getting signed if they put on pretty good performance. But I'm going to go with Kavanagh. Just a slight edge to him in this one, 55-45 in confidence here. So great first fight to start off this card. Moving on, we have Jose Delgado versus Ernie Juarez. I'm going to go with Jose Delgado. I think he actually is taking this fight on short notice, but the thing is with Delgado is that he's really rangy, and I kind of like that against a guy like Ernie Juarez, who's actually pretty good in his own right. I like that he mixes in his takedowns pretty well, and his striking isn't like super nice like technique-wise, but he does a lot of forward pressure. He lands and he's like shooting these guys' heads back, and he does a good job mixing it in. But the thing with Jose Delgado is that he can wrestle, he can grapple, and I think he's going to be longer in this fight. I don't exactly know the reach advantage of, not the reach advantage, but the reach in general of Juarez in this fight. But Jose Delgado, he does a really good job at fighting at range, and I think he's going to chew up the leg of Juarez. And Juarez, he doesn't necessarily like block his head either. That's the thing with as a pressure fighter, he doesn't have really good striking defense either. I can see him just running into some of these shots of Delgado, and Delgado getting the finish here. So I'm going to go Delgado by finish. I actually think he gets a TKO in like the second or third round. I think it's going to be a pretty high pace early fight, but I think Delgado definitely gets the edge a little bit. He is taking this on very short notice, so maybe as this fight goes on, a pressure fighter like Ernie Juarez, who has had like a full camp, is going to wear down on Delgado in the later rounds here. But I do think we will see a Delgado finish here. I think he'll chew up the legs, slow down Juarez a little bit. It will turn into a little bit of a wrestling, grappling match, just him defending some of these takedowns. But I do like the range of Delgado on the feet. I think he can actually get into like a little bit of a flow state and beat up Juarez pretty badly and stay out of range of Juarez's shot. So it is going to be interesting because Delgado does throw some, like, quite a bit of hooks, and Juarez is more like pressure forward straight shots. So it will be interesting in that way, but I do think Delgado's going to land a lot better strikes on Juarez in this fight. So I'm going to say a first or second round TKO. I do like an early second round TKO with Juarez kind of just trying to shoot panic takedowns and not really getting there, and the pressure style not really helping him. So I'm going Jose Delgado, first or second round TKO in this one. Let's move on. We have Bruno Lopes versus Mikheil. Oh, God. Sazhiniani. Oh, God. I'm going to go Bruno Lopes. I didn't really like what I saw from Mikheil, I think is how you say his name. He's kind of similar, weirdly enough, to Brenson Ribeiro. But the thing with Brenson Ribeiro is and how he had such good success against Bruno Lopes, who was a pretty big favorite in their last fight on the Contender Series last year. I think he's like minus 600, minus 500. Brenson Ribeiro's like super athletic and extremely explosive. And with Bruno Lopes being a little bit slower on the feet, he's very technical everywhere, technical on the feet, good on the ground, has really good submission ability. Mikheil isn't necessarily like a fast guy on the feet. Like he's definitely a lot slower than a Ribeiro would be, and that's the real difference maker here. I think Bruno Lopes is going to see some of the shots coming. I don't think he's going to get KO'd like he did against Ribeiro in this fight. I just don't see it happening. Maybe Lopes can eventually get a submission, just kind of get Mikheil down eventually, because Mikheil does have some decent wrestling ability as well. So it's going to be very interesting with the power that Mikheil does have, and he does throw a little bit in combinations. It's going to be interesting to see how Bruno Lopes does in this fight. It's going to be a little bit of a test from his last fight that he did have. Like Marcos Regago, I don't even know why I'm trying to even say these names. He actually looked pretty impressive there, but with Bruno Lopes' style, just being a little bit more calm and staying at range, choosing his shots, we'll see how that is against a real big power puncher. Since the last time that happened in the Contender Series, he looked really bad. So I'm just going to bet on the idea that Bruno Lopes is going to eventually find his shot, maybe hurt Mikheil, eventually get him down and submit him in this fight. I just don't think Mikheil is as good of an athlete as Brenson Ribeiro is and can catch someone like Bruno Lopes off guard. And that was the thing with Brenson Ribeiro. He's kind of hit or miss. Mikheil, whatever the hell his last name is, he fought, 2 bums? I guess 8-1 is a pretty solid record, but I don't know. Just his style on the feet just doesn't look too impressive compared to what I've seen from Bruno Lopes. Bruno Lopes could just get flatlined here, and I could look like a complete idiot. But I think on the feet, Bruno Lopes is going to be the more technically sound guy. I'm going to have to go with him here. I don't mind people taking Mikheil in this fight either, just based on what we saw from Bruno Lopes in his last fight, but in his last Contender Series fight. But let's move on. We have Meng Ding versus Rami Hamed. I'm going to go with Meng Ding. I think Rami Hamed actually took this fight on short notice as well. I think what he was supposed to fight Islam Dulatov, right? I want to say is what this fight was supposed to be with Meng Ding. Yeah. Meng Ding's actually really big, like super big for welterweight. And I do think that's going to show quite a bit in this fight. And the thing with Rami Hamed is his last 2 fights just looked super weird. He was just leg kicking the dudes. Like, he was defending takedowns and just straight up leg kicking him. And one of the guys even like tapped on the ground and quit after like the 4th leg kick. It was just not really high talent at all. It just wasn't really that big of a test. And then you have a fight in like Elias Santos where you kind of just see Rami Hamed just not doing enough in the fight. And I do feel like Meng Ding, who I did watch his last fight against however the hell you say his name. I think that was like their 4th fight, their 3rd or 4th fight. I think he actually won that one. Let's see. Okay, I think they're like 2-2 or something like that. I don't know. They fought a lot. This guy Kurabang Tula Sabake. Like he lost that one, won that one. Let's see. He lost that one again and then won this one as well. And then lost again and then won this one. So they fought quite a bit, and he ended up getting the last fight by a finish, right? He looked pretty good in that fight. That's all I can really say there. But I think he's just going to be a lot bigger than Rami Hamed. I think he's going to look really nice on the feet. I think he's going to be a lot more active on the feet. And I think he's going to find the chin of Rami Hamed, get that finish in like the late first or second round with a TKO here. So I think it's a pretty straightforward fight. I don't know the odds here. I know it's not minus 250 because I think I checked a minute ago. I think it's like more towards like minus 200 Meng and then plus like 180 for Rami Hamed. This is not accurate odds. I think that's probably about right here. Probably where I'm a little bit more comfortable in seeing, but I do think Meng Ding will finish Rami Hamed on the feet here. He's a lot younger as well. Going to be like 4 years younger in this fight. Have a 4-inch reach advantage as well. I like that in this one. I think he's going to get the job done on the feet. Let's move on to the main event. We have Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Wes Schultz. This is a very interesting fight as well. I'm going to go with Mansur Abdul-Malik. Wes Schultz is 100% like a grappler, and what I've seen from Mansur Abdul-Malik, and I couldn't find some of his fights. I will say I found his last LFA fight, and I found a couple clips of the Shogun, and I guess you can probably find his ex-MMA fight, but he's a good wrestler as well, and he does have some nasty ground and pound. Like his last fight, I think he fought someone that was like 6'5", I want to say. The dude was 6'5". He took him down, and it was like one ground and pound strike, and the dude was just out cold, and he was just smacking his head around on the canvas. So he looked super impressive there. I saw a couple clips of him on the feet as well. He fights very long. Like he has an 80-inch reach advantage. He will have a 4-inch reach advantage on Wes Schultz. If Wes Schultz cannot grapple Mansur Abdul-Malik, I think it's going to be a lot of trouble for him here, and I can see him getting battered in this fight. I do think Mansur Abdul-Malik, just based on what I've seen from his ground and pound, and of course we're not able to, or at least I'm not able to access some of these fights. Maybe other people are able to find some of them, but from what I've seen from him on the feet, he fights really long. He's a lot of power in his hands. The ground and pound shots, like insane power there as well. I just think Mansur Abdul-Malik is a pretty talented grappler in general, and Wes Schultz is a very technical grappler, so maybe he can find the back of Malik if they ever entertain like a wrestling position in here. But at the end of the day, it is Contender Series. I do think a lot of the fighters that we have seen, I do think that's why a lot of underdogs tend to go quite a bit, is because a lot of these fighters are looking for a finish, and a lot of them are willing to stay on the feet and not try to grapple and make it a boring fight. So I don't think Wes Schultz is going to be able to take down Mansur Abdul-Malik early. Maybe Malik might gas out trying to finish Schultz in the first round. Like I can see that happening just with how powerful he is, and if you can just see how both of them are built. Like he's much bigger. I can see him being a lot more explosive. So if he tires himself out trying to finish Wes Schultz, hurting him very badly, and Wes Schultz comes out later in the second or third round and eventually gets like a submission, I wouldn't be surprised. But I do think Malik is just going to be a lot more powerful. I think he's going to end up hurting Wes Schultz very badly. And I do think Wes Schultz is going to be too comfortable kind of staying in his grappling and staying in his guard, and he's just going to get ground and pounded very badly. And I think this fight ends with a TKO, probably late first round, with just some ground and pound strikes. I think it's going to be very brutal. I don't think he puts him out cold, but I think it's going to be wavering there a little bit closer. The ref's going to have to step in. That's my main event pick for this card. Let me know what you guys think about this entire Contender Series cards. I'm actually looking really forward to it. We got a nice pay-per-view card on the weekend. Such a nice way to kick off the Contender Series series, I guess is how you'd say it. But I'm really looking forward to this card. Let me know who you guys have down below. I'm sure some underdogs will pop up, especially with the Antoine Ho fight and the Kavanagh and then Jose Delgado and Juarez. I can see those fights kind of flipping for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if those fights flip and some underdogs win there. But let me know who you guys have down below in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.